Well, I brought home two prizes from the store this week. The first one is a DieHard 950. That looks like another Schumacher. This one is a Duralast 750, kind of a nice looking power pack. They both have similar problems. Now, the symptoms on this unit are almost identical to what we saw on the Duralast. We have no light, no display. If we turn this on, jumpstart USB on off. Kind of rusty there too, but no USB. Now the reason this might be preferable to the Duralast, instead of an AC power cord type charger, this has a DC jack right here. Generally, not necessarily true, but more often than not, when you see this, meaning that it wants to work off of an AC adapter like this, there's a built-in charge controller, meaning that you can leave this plugged in, and when the battery is fully charged, it'll shut off and prevent itself from overcharging. To verify whether or not any particular portable power pack works that way, it's best to check the owner's manual. Now here on page 6 of the Portable Power 950 owner's manual, we're told that once the battery is fully charged, the built-in charger automatically switches to float mode monitoring, which trickle charges the battery and keeps it fully charged without overcharging. So the Portable Power 950 may be left permanently connected. And here it says to the wall outlet. Well, you can also leave it permanently connected to your solar charge controller. This means that you can use a DC power plug, and you can plug this into a cigarette lighter socket connected to your solar panel DC charge controller. And then the excess energy that would normally be wasted on the backup power project, because we produce way more energy than we need to keep our batteries topped off, you can use that to top this battery off as well. So not only will you be keeping your backup power project batteries charged, you can also keep this charged without any danger of overcharging it. So it's a great way to use the excess energy from your solar system. All right, so we're suspecting, all right, let's see what happens when we plug it in. Because almost certainly this is, the only thing wrong with this, once again, is going to be a dead battery. All right, we'll plug it in, turn it on. Oh, USB is working. .45 volts. Showing 99%. That can't possibly be, but that's what it's showing. Does the light work? Light comes on. What about the jump start? Will we have any voltage there? I wouldn't try jump starting a car off of this little AC adapter, but just to prove that we have 12 volts here. Now remember, when you're making this test, you want to test on the side that the wires are going to. So we'll connect to that side and this side, and there we go. We got 15 volts, and the reason we have 15 volts is that this is a 15 volt charger, which is exactly what this calls for. I'm sure you can't read it from here, but 15 volts DC, 1 amp. All right, now let's get it apart, see if we can pull that battery out and see if it'll work with a new battery. Okay, I've got the back cover unscrewed. There's two covers. There's a little cover right here on the battery compartment. We have 8 screws. Two longest ones, these two big silver ones. The silver ones went here on the bottom. The shorter ones went on the door. And right away we can see what's wrong with this. Look at the corrosion on that battery terminal. So the positive side doesn't look bad, but the negative side is quite corroded. So I wonder if that's even making contact. All right, let's pull the battery out of there and check it out. Okay, the tools you're going to need to get this out are 2 8mm wrenches or 2 5/16 wrenches. Both are, these are the same size, 5/16 and 8mm. So we'll start with 8mm on this side. So why didn't I use sockets? Because you can't fit them in here. Alright, so we just have a nut on the outside. We have a bolt and a lock washer on the inside. We have 2 wires here. There's a red wire and also a black wire. And it's important to say these things to yourself, because if you need to take this apart, then later on it's very easy to get confused as to what was where. So we're expecting a red and a black on this side. Alright, let me switch to the other side and we'll try the 5/16. This is going to be fun, all rusty. Alright. Now, there's this very small chance that this battery will come back, that we just had a corrosion problem here. It's a small chance, but it is a chance, so be interesting to see. This is your more standard size battery. Look, the lock washer rotted and broke in half here. Okay, what do we got on this side? A right angle black and a thin black. Now on the other side, we have a straight black. So right angle black and thin black on this side. Let's get them out of the way. I don't give you much room here. All right, now how am I going to get this battery out? One method that works fairly well is to use 2 pairs of pliers. Just make sure if you're using 2 metal pairs of pliers, you don't touch them together. We'll see if we can't get this. Oh, she's not going to go. And the reason she's not moving is that we're wedged right here. All right, let's try again. Oh, she's going to put up a fight. There we go. A little dirty, not too bad. All right, this battery type. 12 volt, 18 amp hour, 20 amp hour. And this DieHard battery is marked SCH 12-18-3. Let's see what let's clean up that terminal, see what we've got. A little corrosion here too. Oh, that's a lot better. If there's anything left in there, we'll see if it'll take a charge. All right, let's check our starting voltage. .7 volts. Okay, so we have a motorcycle mode here. And that's for a special mode for small batteries like this. But it's off at the moment. However, it may turn itself on in a few minutes and start its magic. So we'll see. While we're waiting on these battery repairs, let's see if this case is going to clean up. Not like new, but definitely a lot better. Now, in case you've got one of these that's been taken apart and you're not sure how it goes back together, I've created a visual schematic for you to show where everything goes. Now, here's our battery. We have a thick red wire. Now, what's confusing is on that 950 we're working on, this wire is black, but it is connected to the red or positive terminal. So this wire's hot. It goes to the hot side of this switch. This would be the off side. When the switch is turned on, the positive terminal is connected to this red wire, which is the jumper cable. There is also on this on side of the switch, there's an orange wire that goes to the circuit that turns on the USB. So USB and the red jumper cable are only live when this switch is turned on. Now, where do the grounds come from? Okay, so on this side we have the thick black cable that goes directly to the black alligator clip, and that's on the negative terminal. And we also have two fairly thick wires, a red and a black, on these terminals. So what do they do? Well, they go back through whatever to the charge controller board. So these are how the battery gets charged. That's the function of these two thinner wires. And this is your charge controller. The charge controller goes off to the DC jack, which is right here, and the DC jack goes to our power supply. So what we're concerned with really are how these four wires get connected to the battery. When they're all color-coded, it's fairly easy. Reds go to red, blacks go to black. Where it gets confusing is where they abandon the color code and all of these wires are black. That makes no sense, because if you don't know how this is wired or where they're going, very easy to make a mistake, and I often get these that have been burned up because the wires are connected incorrectly. So let's take a look at what I've done to this one to help out the next guy. Well, if you recall, these wires that go to the red terminal, this is a black wire, but it does go to the red terminal. And this is actually going to the switch, and then the switch goes off to the red alligator clip. But this wire can be pulled out, and so can these. And now all of a sudden, what goes where? So to stop that confusion, I put a piece of red tape here. Now there's no mistaking. I can catch this underneath. I can take this all apart. Even if I get brain fog and forget where everything goes, red to red. I got two reds on this side. I got two blacks on this side. I'm all set. So no matter how smart you are, I highly recommend, if this is not a red wire and this is where it came from, mark it somehow with shrink tubing or red tape or red paint, something. That's what I do anyways. So here's a review. The black battery cable, alligator clip, is directly wired to the negative terminal of the battery. The red alligator clip goes through this switch, and the switch is wired directly to the battery. So the red alligator clip only gets juice when the switch is turned on. And the same is true for the little USB circuit. That little USB circuit is here on this one, right there. And so this would be going back that way to activate the USB. And what are these wires? This goes to the charge controller. So you have a black one on the negative side, red one on the positive side, goes to the charge controller. Here's your low voltage beeper. Charge controller goes out to the DC jack, which is right here. DC jack is connected to this plug, which goes to the AC adapter. Or in our case, we're going to wire this directly to our solar charge controller. Now, in case you're wondering, how can this little battery jumpstart a big car battery? Well, the only thing you're trying to do in that case is turn the starter motor. So yeah, obviously, this little battery has enough juice to turn your starter motor. But that's also why headlights should be off, radio, heater, everything else that drains the battery should be off in a jump start situation. Because while this can turn the starter motor, it's not going to run all the electrical devices in that automobile. Now, the battery that we're going to use to replace the original PowerMate 950 battery is a Mighty Max model ML22-12. It's a 12 volt, 22 amp hour. Now, sometimes you'll get a power pack, in fact quite often, with an 18 amp hour battery, but these 22 amp hours are a big upgrade. They just cost a few dollars more, so this is the one that I always get. Okay, let's get it out of the box and get it in there. New package of hardware. Well, that'll come in handy because if you remember, the lock washer was corroded and split in half, and one of these bolts is actually all corroded, so we'll use these new ones. Well, before we put this one in, probably be a good idea to check our start voltage. I've actually had this for a few months. I had bought it for another repair, but I didn't need it. So, probably got this in July and it's November right now. Let's see where the battery is. .6869 volts, that's pretty good. Being in storage 5 months with no charge on it. Mighty Max. Okay, we'll check our new hardware. 8mm wrench. Perfect fit. Okay, that wasn't too bad. I'm not going to kid you, these are very stiff wires. They're not easy to work with. Well, I ended up having to take one side off. My old fingers, I just wasn't catching these, but I've got them both caught now, so let's tighten them down and see if we can't finish this job. Okay, we're all back together. And I guess before we put the battery door on, might be a good idea to test it. Alright, let's see if the light works. Light works. Let's try USB. Oh, USB is working. Shows 5.45 volts. Display shows that the battery is 13 volts. I would say we're all set. Pretty good for the cost of a replacement battery. So there's these little tracks here. When you're lining up the door, these tabs want to engage in these tracks. Okay, there's one. That's it. Okay, now the two long screws go here on the bottom. And the short screws go everywhere else. Alright, now, these jumpers are meant to clip here. Looks like we've got extra cable on the red. Wonder if we can push that back in. Yes. Okay, now I mention that because you invariably see teeth marks on the handle where people are attaching the alligator clips up here. Makes no sense. But hey, they paid for it, so I guess they can attach them wherever they want. I'm kind of happy to have this. Very happy. Hope I never need it, but I'm happy to have it with me this winter.